Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Planner in the Press. My name is Phil Hartwell, Vice President of the Bridal Society. Welcome on in, everyone. And today, my special guest is Danielle Armstrong with Danie Marie Events. Good morning, Danielle.
Good morning, Phil. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great this morning. It's so great to have you on the show this morning and welcome you in. So let us all know a little bit about yourself and your company.
Sure. Thanks for having me. My name is Danielle Armstrong. I own Danie Marie Events, which is based in New Jersey, a full service wedding and event planning company. I also do travel coordination as well. But I'm also looking into going into destination weddings as well. So any place is not a problem.
That's fantastic. So the bulk of your weddings are in the New Jersey area, also New York City, I'm imagining as well,
That's
or
correct.
really it sounds like you'll go anywhere that someone wants to do a wedding.
I absolutely would. Yes.
That's fantastic. So what was it that kind of got you into the wedding planning industry?
Well, I actually started in the events industry back in 2005. After I graduated college, I started freelancing with a company in New York, and they did various shows for Fashion Week as well as with FDNY and charitable events and such. So, that definitely sparked my interest, but I knew I didn't want to stay in the fashion realm. I ended up planning my first wedding in 2006, realizing it was a lot of work. But at that point, it wasn't as prevalent as it is now. And we still are, but the wedding planning industry was undervalued. So, people weren't hiring planners as much. So I wasn't really sure how to kind of get in the market. And then I ended up steering towards corporate America, but I was still doing events there. I ended up actually being hired at the college I graduated from, King University, as their weddings and events manager for the venue. I was there for some time and then came across actually the Bridal Society certification and took that shortly after, and I've been running ever since.
Sure. So you took our wedding planning certification conference when we were there in New York City? Is that?
No, I actually took it in North Carolina, March of 2017 in Greensboro.
Oh, awesome. So
Yeah.
it was worth it to you to travel down and be a part of that in person class.
So absolutely, but I actually, for a stint, I was actually living in North Carolina for that 1 year. So it actually worked out very well. And then I came back here and I've been here ever since.
Right. So after you went through our wedding planning certification conference, I know back then it was in a 2-day format and in different cities all over the country. Now we have it in the online format where you can take your time and go through each section. You have a full 2 months to complete it, but at the time you did it in the 2-day format. So after you finished your certification, you went back to New Jersey, and how did that what did you use to, did you use some of that information to adjust your business a little bit?
Yes, absolutely. There's a lot that, between learning different measurements of tablecloths, the different type of tables, dance floors, there's just so many intricate pieces that when you're putting together the logistics, you don't really think about. And that was one thing for me that I knew. Yes, as a whole, most people have been to weddings before, so you know what takes place, but the background, for me, I definitely knew I wanted some formal education to be able to understand the ins and outs, and even, how to communicate better with vendors and so on and so forth. So absolutely.
Right. I know as a guest, when you go to a wedding or any event, you're there and you go, oh, look how pretty it is. A lot of people think, what? Oh, this must be so fun to be a wedding planner. I know that I've helped my wife on hundreds and hundreds of weddings, and we have the headset in the ear. And I remember people coming up to me and going, do you work for the wedding planner? Yes, I do. She's my wife and I'm helping her today. Oh, it must be so much fun. Well, it is fun as long as there's plenty of planning that goes way ahead. No one even has an idea of how much anticipated planning happens
Correct.
leading up to it. And that's really what makes things go smoothly. But
Yes.
even with all that planning, things go not as planned sometimes as well. I'm sure you've run into a thing or two through your career as that. So at a certain point, you decided to go through our master wedding planning certification. When did you decide to do that? And what was it that led you to decide to even further your education more with weddings?
Yeah, so basically, honestly, Lori made the announcement, and as she talked about it, I said, "Yep, yes, we're gonna do this." So I completed it in October of last year. But basically, last year I had made up my mind. So I ended up being furloughed from the job that I was at, which gave me the opportunity to become full time with Danie Marie Events, which has been a goal for a while. So once the opportunity came across to kind of level up my services and my education, I was all for it. A lot of times for myself, I was holding myself back because of other obligations, whether it be the full-time job that I had, and I didn't want to sacrifice service for potential clients. So, I'd fallen back with the amount of clients that I was taking. So I dedicated last year with the downtime to basically be able to educate myself and do as many things that I could. I ended up doing the design certification last year, as well as the Timeline Genius certification. So anything that was out there, I pretty much was trying to stay on top of. But the master certification certainly blew my mind because it was just so much information, but it was incredibly valuable. So it was the best choice ever.
And it takes a little while to go through it. It's not something that you complete, in a few days. It
Correct.
takes several months, and there are assignments that you have to turn in because Lori wants to make sure that you're kind of grasping the information and applying the information that she's giving you. What would you say? I know there's so much; it's probably hard to narrow it down to one or two things, but what was the thing that you find that was the most helpful about that master certification that you were able to kind of apply to your business right away?
I would say honestly, the portion of there was really a breakdown of the different personality types for us, as
Mhm.
well as for potential clients that we would come across. And I think going into that deep dive was a huge help because it helped us to understand, obviously, if we're a certain personality type, we may not be able to convey certain messages in the language that other personality types understand. So just being able to break those down and being able to communicate better has certainly helped tremendously.
Right. Isn't it something how people can see the same exact thing totally different just because of their background, maybe their mindset, the way that their brain works. I know that
Absolutely.
Lori and I are see the same exact thing sometimes in two completely different ways, and it's
Mhm.
not that there's a right or a wrong, but it's just different,
Yeah.
and that's okay. People are all wired differently, so it really is incredible to have that knowledge of trying to figure out, all right, where is this client coming from? You're listening to maybe you're on a Zoom call or
Mhm.
on an initial consultation with them. And of course, we all as wedding planners, we try to figure out, and as any salesperson, what is it that you need? What are you needing from me? And then
Yes.
when you're able to kind of understand what makes them tick and what really resonates with them, it's an easy way for you to say, wow, well, you know what? I'm experienced, I'm well trained, and I'm supported by thousands of other wedding planners around the country
Yes.
and supported by an organization like the Bridal Society that really provides all of these resources. So you, bride or groom, uh, you're taken care of and I'll take care of you.
Yes.
And that kind of gives you that confidence to understand them a little better. And in turn, probably makes it easier for them to book with you. Have you noticed a difference in, now that you said that you were furloughed a little bit, furloughed a little bit. That's a funny phrase. You were furloughed.
Yeah.
Furloughed is a kind way of saying you were laid off, right?
Yeah, I actually requested it because it was pretty much the beginning of the pandemic. They didn't really know what was going on. There was no mask mandate. So, I made the decision like it's kind of now or never. And, thankfully I haven't looked back since. So it's really been a blessing. But yeah, it's definitely changed the scope of things. Even the opportunity to host the engaged couples wedding planning workshop. That's actually how I booked my last client. They signed up for the workshop. They were initially interested in wedding management, or what they think is month of coordination. We had a great consultation, and I told her about additional services that would be available if she was interested, and she ended up going with partial planning as opposed to wedding management. So, and she was much more comfortable, and she didn't really realize, because the venue that she has sold her on a venue coordinator. So, being able to educate her on the difference and what they do as opposed to what the wedding planner will do for you, she was grateful for being able to understand the differences and the breakdown. And then she understood the value of what she was going to get, which I think is most important.
Right. I'm glad you mentioned that, because that is something that our master certified wedding planners, after going through the program, you don't have to, but you do have the choice of having those wedding workshops available for your potential couples.
Mhm.
And it's nothing that you have to do, Danie. It's something that we've already done here at the Bridal Society. And so that's great. I'm glad to hear that works. So it was a way for someone who hadn't even met you yet, right, to be educated about how much they don't know how much they don't know, right?
Absolutely.
Until
Absolutely.
they've been educated. That's kind of what we're all about here at the Bridal Society, not
Yeah.
only educating wedding planners, but hopefully raising the standard in the industry as a whole. Because a lot of other vendors, I think, possibly, Danie, wouldn't you agree, don't exactly know what wedding planners do as well?
Yes.
Would you say you run into that sometimes?
Absolutely. But I can say I'm grateful that I'm running into more vendors that are appreciative of us as well. But yeah, there's still some, albeit photographers, DJs, that, I'll have a conversation with, and they're like, "Oh, you do all of that? Oh, I don't have to. Oh, hmm, okay, this is interesting." So, the last photographer that I worked with, once I introduced myself, he was like, "I wish all my couples had a planner," and I was like, "I'm so grateful that you said that. Thank you." But he's like, "No, because I know you're going to steer them in the right direction." And, he normally does timelines for his photography, but he, once I told him I was taking care of it, he was like, "Works for me." One less thing that I have to do. So, it's good, because I think also just helping people to understand we're not here to take over things. We're just trying to make things work better and work smoothly. And all of us should have a common goal of making this, our clients, one of the best days of their lives.
That's true. I think that's very important to stress. It's not about control, and it's not about who's the wearing the hat of
Right.
I'm in charge. We don't want to be in charge, so to speak. We just want, like you said, a smooth day, and I think that's something that all wedding vendors can agree on. We all just want it to go smoothly. So
Yes.
tell me, is there I always love to ask my planners that I interview with, is there a favorite story you'd like to share with me? Something funny, something that happened at a wedding that really just cracked you up or you couldn't believe it.
um, I'd have to say, well, this was years ago. I when I was transitioning over and working as the wedding planner at a venue, but they knew some of the education that I already had. So there was a wedding that was set to happen in a sister venue, but it was a tented event. And there was a hurricane that was coming that weekend. Their tent company literally up and decided 36 hours before, they were like, we're not coming. We're not putting up this tent. We're not doing any of it. So pretty much good luck and God bless. With no alternatives, no anything. So they came to me like, what are we going to do? Okay, well, let me figure this out. Luckily, the venue that we had that was in regular indoor venue, I said, we can have it there, but there's a few things. They were supposed to have an evening wedding. At that point, that area was looking to be evacuated by a certain time. So I'm like, we can have your wedding, but instead of 6 o'clock, it needs to be now at 12. And you can use one space. So we can set up the ceremony in the northern portion of the room. We will have tables set up along the perimeters, essentially out of camera view. But as soon as ceremony's over, we had like a loft type area where they could go upstairs for cocktail hour. And then we had to do a mad rush to set those tables up for the reception. They had to be out of there by 4:30 at the latest in order to leave. They had a perfect day when the last limo was leaving with the bride and the groom. The sky opened up like for the rest of the day. The hurricane literally came like 8 minutes after that. But they were just so excited that they were able to have the wedding. Their family, their guests were super understanding. They still had a good 100 people with the 24-hour notice of telling people, hey, it's going to be in the afternoon as opposed to the evening. But it worked out, and they were extremely grateful. They still didn't even remember how the whirlwind happened. It was just so fast, but I'm like, this is exactly how we have to do it, and we're going to get kicked out if we don't. So but it worked out. I've never had to experience that again, and I'm glad because it was a bit much, but I'm glad I was able to help them, because I couldn't even imagine being that couple that the day before your wedding you possibly think it's not going to happen.
Well, isn't it interesting how there's always something that happens at a wedding? Let's just face it, there are so many humans and so many vendors and vendors are humans too. Yes, we're all human. But so many factors that are out of our control when it comes to, any event, but especially a wedding, because you have so many emotions. You've got the crazy Uncle Joe that's in town, doing crazy Uncle Joe stuff. And you've got, all kinds of family dynamics. So that's great to hear that couple had someone like you who's just a neutral party, someone who's not really connected personally to any of it.
Correct.
You're there to facilitate the chaos, right? Yes. And to turn that hurricane into a successful event. Yes. What would you say is your favorite part of being a master certified wedding planner and handling those kind of things for people?
I think honestly, having the knowledge and being able to educate my clients, because some of them, I don't know if I want to say embarrassed, but I guess some of them are like, oh, we never knew this, and I try and assure them, like, I understand, most of my clients have never been married before, so I don't expect you to know all of the ins and outs. As we discussed earlier, yes, most of us have been guests at weddings, but going to any event, yes, you're seeing the final product. You don't know the labor that it took to get to that point, the changes that were made and any challenges that took place. So I think just being able to guide my clients through to make smarter decisions, and also, to be able to, obviously the other things that we do, handle their budgets and so on and so forth, so that they get the most bang for their buck and they enjoy the experience.
Right. It's really what it's all about because, like you said, this is the first time, hopefully, that they've been through this.
Mhm.
And you've been through it many, many, many times. So you can guide them and, in a lot of cases, save them from themselves, right?
Right.
When they say, we want to save money and have a wedding in our uncle's backyard. Well, you can educate them about that and the fact that that probably on the surface sounds like it would save you money, but in the long run, with all the rentals and all of the other things that you'd have
Mhm.
to bring into that event, you most likely would be paying more. So,
Correct.
well, great. So, would you say that you've learned some of the, or I'm sorry, used some of the things that you learned in the wedding planning certification and the master certification? You've been able to apply those to your business, and I'm guessing that they've helped you to grow the business in what it is now. I'm just assuming that. And am I assuming that
Absolutely. You
correct?
are correct in that assumption. Yes.
Okay, great. But then also, in addition to the education, and let's just set that aside for a second because we could be here for days and days and
Mhm.
days talking about all of the knowledge that you receive in our classes. There are some other thing that you gain from being a member of the Bridal Society as far as the connections that you make in the industry?
Yeah, I was gonna say hands down is the community.
Mm.
Ironically, I've actually, outside of the other ladies in the Greensboro certification and Lori and yourself, I haven't met anyone else in person. For the first year or so, or 2 years, that I was with, or I've been with the Bridal Society, I kind of laid low and I'll be in our, private group and I'll read things, I'll interact, but didn't really meet anybody. So, and then again, with the master certification, kind of taking a deeper dive into, myself and the type of personality I'm starting to realize I'm more introverted than I realized. So, um, but over the past, now almost 2 years with this pandemic, you guys have provided us with so many opportunities to interact with each other, even with the retreat and now being an ambassador and such. So, I'm grateful for the connections that I've made because it's been tremendous just to be able to, bounce ideas off of each other or vent or, just, be friends.
Right. No, I appreciate that. We try to foster a community of cooperation and help, and I know that that my wife Lori, who's founder and CEO of the Bridal Society, would agree. And I can see from the back end as I watch her work, her motivation is always to do whatever she can to support wedding planners all around the world. Of
Yes.
course, most of our planners are here in the United States, but keep in mind that if there's anything that any of our members need, we're one post away. We have that private forum where you can post on, if,
Mhm.
let's say you needed a help on a wedding in Jersey, this weekend. You could post on that forum, and within an hour, you would probably have several answers. I'm available. Yep, I can help you out on that. So
Absolutely.
hopefully
Yes, I've experienced that firsthand. So it's one of the incredible things, just one of the incredible things that, is available to us for sure.
right. You need support, right? As a wedding planner, I would say that there's probably a lot of days where you're sitting there going, all right,
Absolutely.
a deep breath. So would you say that you've gotten the support that you need as a member of the Bridal Society?
Yes, yes. And I think, one thing that being in an organization, a lot of people don't realize, you often, um, people put a lot of weight on the organization, but as a member, you need to be active. You need to obviously take advantage of the benefits and the perks that are there. So once people realize that, then they can absolutely get the most out of any organization that they're a part of. And I think because there are so many members in the Bridal Society, it's easy to just connect with someone or find someone in your region or somewhere close. But now, with Zoom, they don't even really have to be. So it's just a matter of staying connected because there's just you don't know, even though we all have the same training, we all have the same certification, other people's experiences can help you, avoid certain things or, help you do better in other ways. So it's just great to be around other like-minded individuals.
That's great. There's always great new connections that you can make through the interactive forum that we have access to as a member. And so would you recommend, like, let's say you're a wedding planner who has been planning weddings for several years and you're going along, would you recommend certification through the Bridal Society to an experienced wedding planner?
I absolutely would. Because I feel like, one of the segments that Lori talks about is trends, and that's always going to change. There's certain things that are out, certain things that are, new and evolving. So I think no matter what level you're on, there's still a chance to learn something. And even if, let's say, you feel like you didn't learn anything, you're still going to be a part of a community forever, that you'll be able to connect with and, again, get vendor suggestions or venue suggestions or whatever the case may be, or just someone to pick your brain. So I feel like it's definitely worth it no matter what.
That's awesome. I'm so glad to hear that it's been helpful for you. So once again, before we kind of wrap things up, this has been so great.
Yes.
The time passed by so fast. I can't
No.
even believe it. But for our viewers, and if you're a couple maybe engaged and in need of your services, please remind everyone the name of your company and maybe how people could, and the areas that you serve and how people can get a hold of you.
Absolutely. My company is Danie Marie Events. I am based in New Jersey, and I mainly service the tri-state area, but I'm open to any and all destinations. And I can be reached anywhere at Danie Marie Events on Facebook, on Instagram, Pinterest. So I'm out there to find.
That's awesome. And I'm glad to hear too that you help with destination weddings. I know that people are so pent up now and ready to get out there and travel. So knowing that you're able to help them with not only their travel plans, but also their wedding planning plans as
Yes.
they get to that destination, that's good to know. So if you're in need, if you're engaged and ready to make your plans, give Danielle Armstrong a call at Danie Marie Events. Danielle, it's been so great to have you this morning.
Yes, thanks, Phil. It was wonderful.
Thanks so much for joining me. Have a great day. And thanks so much, everyone. We'll see you next time on Planner in the Press. Thanks now.
Bye.